Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Welcome, welcome. So today is full moon day. Tomorrow is Bhagavan Jayanti, celebration of Sri Rama's birthday at the ashram. Tonight there's a lunar eclipse. It's a very auspicious time to be in Tiruvannamalai. And now is always a very auspicious moment to end the belief that there is separation. That somehow this you are experiencing at this moment is separate from that which you are as consciousness itself. This, for some people, for many of us, is a very, very deep belief. It comes through the foundation structure that says, I am the body, I am the mind, and our conditioning which supports it, and tells us that because we have this experience, that I am the body or I am the mind, somehow I am separate from the all. We support this contention by pointing over and over to the ideas that we hold about ourselves or the ideas that the world holds about us. And giving them support. And forgetting completely that you are here, aware, that everything is one. Partly this is because the mind enjoys diversity and differentiation. So it's easy for attention to go about playing and wandering in the field of sensation, of mind, of experience. This in itself is not a problem. The difficulty comes when the recognition there is only one is lost. Through the belief that what is experienced in body, mind, or world is real. And so in Advaita, it's always pointed to the necessity for cultivating, if you will, discrimination. In the life of the mind and the body, discrimination is about sense objects and thoughts and emotions and experiences. But in the teaching of the sages, differentiation, diversity, is always treated as a single confining experience or belief for us. And so, always it's pointed to the necessity to discriminate as long as necessary between what is unreal and what is real. What is unreal is everything which arises in diversity. From this perspective, what is real is the realization, the recognition that all is one, and you are that. In order, however, to be able to experience this directly, there has to be some small effort made, both to remember, I am that which is aware, and to remember that what is arising in diversity in the mind, body, and world is a manifestation of the unreal. So in this regard, some small effort needs to be made. Some of us will undertake the sadhana of some form of meditation or some form of concentrative practice. And by doing this, we're able to see very precisely what is rising in body, mind, at any given moment. And we're able to see that the foundation of diversity is emptiness. This is the purpose for this kind of sadhana. Others of us will come to unity through devotion to Guru, to God, to teaching. This is the path of bhakti. And on this path, we are surrendering everything in body, mind, and world, even as we are worshiping the Lord. Moving ever more closely to the recognition all is one through our practice. So both the paths of jhana and bhakta culminate in the same place. They come to the same understanding. There is only one, and you are that. So start now. Even whatever you think brought you here, put that down in favor of the recognition, I am here. So now I can rest. Just continuing this small effort to understand, I am one. What does this mean? You can experience this directly for yourself by keeping in mind that as diversity arises in mind, body, and world, that if the I sense, which is the foundation of all of it, is just allowed to be there, the recognition I am here, I am aware, if this is allowed to remain preeminent for you, you can let all else dissolve. And of course, at some point, the you that is allowing dissolving or making some small effort to understand you are one, this one will also disappear. Bhagavan said, this inquiry, who am I? What is aware? Am I aware? These forms of inquiry are like the stick you use to stir a fire. By stirring the fire momentarily flares up. But each time it does that, the intensity increases and a little bit more of the stick is burned. Eventually, all the fuel of the fire is burned up, and along with it, the stick that was used to stir it. This is a beautiful, beautiful metaphor for how the inquiry works. So it doesn't need to be very complicated. The mind likes diversity, remember? So the mind can make it very complicated. But it doesn't need to be very complicated. Just keep stirring. Keep being willing to let go of whatever's rising. Eventually you come to see the emptiness of it, and to see that even when emptiness is all that can be seen, still it is awareness itself, the consciousness of your own being, which is also seeing this emptiness. And then the revelation can come. There is nothing here but this. Not even this awareness. Just this. And then it can be seen that the whole world, body, mind, is only this. That which is pointed to by the sages is only this. All of this is only that. There is this resonance that happens deep in being, that this is the recognition of truth. And now, all of this is known to be Leela, the play of consciousness itself, and the dance. So as soon as you have the perception, in some way, that there is a problem, that there is something wrong, that you don't understand something, all of this that goes on in mind, please put it down. Just understand that at some point it will become very clear to you that all of this is that. You can begin to drop your struggle, your resistance, and you can begin to be here now as this being, consciousness and bliss. You are that. And of course now you're here at Satsang and you're here in Tiruvannamalai, so this is very fertile ground. So don't delay any further. Just keep putting down everything. And come to see yourself as all. And no matter how the sense of differentiation seems to impact you, put that down also. There will be things that come and go. You know, it's even said for the sages that prarabdha karma, the tendencies, can still arise momentarily in the mind, but the difference between the sages and maybe you or I might be that for a period of time we grab something in the diverse experience that we're having in body, mind, world, or emotions. And we run with it, or we play with it for a while. But the sages are just not moved. They may still dance, They may still play, but within them, nothing is moving. There is only this recognition. All this is that. The difficulty can even arise for those of us who have had some conceptual reality, some conceptual experience of, as Nisargadatta Maharaj said, I am that. But even if you've had this recognition, I encourage you to somehow keep going, to keep applying some small amount of effort. Because even the Maharaj, after about 10 years, said, I'm sorry I ever said to people, I am that, you are that. Because it turned out to be a distraction for many people. Why? Because there is still this subtle sense between I and that. This subtle sense of separation. And so from then on, he refused to actually use these words, I am that, and his teaching took another turn. This is an indicator for us that even these very subtle recognitions that we are having as a consequence of our sadhana will need to be let go of at some time. So this is why I say to you, cling to nothing. Even at some point, the recognition there is only one gives way to silence. The silence of being, consciousness, and bliss. This moment, there is no more concern for any of it. What needed to be done has been done. This is the fruition of your sadhana. Now you are just here. And in this sense of you-ness, if there is any you-ness left, thoughts can still come. The world can still be seen, touched, experienced. But now, there's no disturbance, no disruption. Deep within your being, there is this recognition that this wave, whatever it is also passing. But the ocean is not disturbed. So we wait. We let the waves pass, surf them if we need to, sink under them if we have to, only to realize that the ocean underneath was always unmoved. sometimes our minds are like this siren in the different distance, aren't they? We can see, we can hear this sound, this repetition, and attention can go to it very quickly, and it can hold there. And some story can start up in the mind. Oh, I don't like that sound, it's very loud. Oh, I hope that person is okay. I hope that everything is all right. This story can start up. This is just a natural part of having senses. Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. That when something is strong enough, attention just moves toward it. This is very natural. This is one of the places in which we can drop resistance to the world, to the thoughts, and so on, is by allowing ourselves to notice that something is in the environment, in the mind, in the body, a pain, a pleasure is happening in the body. But we just wait. We're just noticing. Where is the sound now? You see, we've done nothing. No need to push it away. No need to effort in some way. We're simply here. And this comes and it goes. And then another follows somewhere. And then something follows in the body. And then something comes to the mind. But if you know you are one, then there is just this sense of waiting. Doing nothing. Not allowing the doer to take over. To need to acquire something, to need to get rid of something, the need to understand something. All of these are happening in the mind of the doer. But if you inquire long enough, who am I? Who is aware of this doing, this tendency to doing? Eventually you become happy just to wait. To notice the end of things. To notice that everything is passing. And of course, for some of us, this is really scary. We're trying desperately to hold on to something, to keep something permanently here. Some sense of body, mind, or world which is pleasing to us, or we think would be better than what we normally have. We're trying to acquire that, to keep it, to hold it, to stay here with it, to make it stay with us, this state of mind, body, or world. And of course this becomes impossible. But some of us have to do this task. We have to try to make this effort throughout many, many years to keep things the same. All the time missing that which doesn't change, which is deep within us and is the foundation for everything which is moving, changing, shifting, and ending. So part of what we have to do on this way of Advaita, this way of inquiry, is we have to become very, very comfortable with everything, people, places, things, objects, thoughts, inspirations, bliss, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. All of this is here only to show us, if we look, what is not moving, what is observing this continual coming and going, this continuous flow of objects in awareness. And of course, the consequence of that for us, if we become very firm, is that we no longer cling to any of the objects as they come and go. And we also have no barrier to enjoyment of everything which is coming and going. We have nothing to protect, nothing to defend, nothing to grasp, nothing to cling to. So we are just allowing what is to be here. Sometimes what is full and dancing. It's like some big riot of energy. Other times what is absolutely still. So we just allow all of this. And we ask ourselves, in allowing, noticing, seeing all of this, what is there that does not move? Okay, who has something? Anyone? So I encourage you, if you have something now.
Right. I know it's ongoing, and I'm sure the response is pretty obvious and whatever, but this ongoing dilemma in terms of what's happening in the world with the politics.
The ongoing dilemma of the politics of the world, yes.
Sort of like, I should be doing something, other than this, which is the most important, I understand. But it's so dramatic right now, and this being wants to let go of it and doesn't really, it can be seen that we're poised on the edge of something really. How to let go of it is basically some help.
So, yes, you say there is this feeling that I should be doing something. Are you doing something? What are you doing right now? Something? What are you doing about the state of the world?
Commenting on Facebook.
She said commenting on Facebook.
But this thing doesn't want to do that.
Huh?
It's like, want to let go of that.
Well, first of all, yeah, turn Facebook off. I think it's important to understand that if you are meant to be doing something in the world, you wouldn't be doing it. The reason I asked you, what are you doing, is because it's very clear to me what you are doing. Isn't it clear to you? You are here. This is the decision you have made. Yes?
Yes. I want to let go. Sorry, I want to let go of the. I get. I want to let go of the other, and really, yeah.
Yes. So yes, but I'm trying to point out to you that you are here. this is what you have decided to do, both about the state of your own mind or being and also the state of the world. You have decided to come here and to pursue this recognition. I am that which is aware. I am the self. So somewhere deep within this being which is beyond your mind, you already understand that your liberation is liberation for the world. If you must do something, embrace that. Further, embrace it with confidence, right? With the deep understanding that I am here as blessing for all of creation. And in pursuing this deep understanding of who I am giving to all of creation. And if you are really, really troubled about the state of the world now, then do this now with the full force of your deep understanding that you are that which is aware and that this is the salvation of the world. The sages, all of them, Yogi Ram Sarad Kumar, Sheshadri Swami, Sri Bhagavan, have all spent a great portion of their life. Look at this time, during their time, we now have Facebook. They had newspapers, and to a person, they all sat in the morning or in the evening when things had been quieted down and looked through these newspapers about what was going on in the world, to be able to send this recognition that the self is one to the entire world, and even to specific areas and to specific situations. So this knowing about what is happening in the world is not a barrier to recognition that you are that which is aware. The barrier is the belief there is a problem. So yes, just keep coming. Not because someone has told you to, but through your own experience. That something has drawn you here in the face of what is happening in the world. You are not out marching on the street. You are here. Someone else is out marching on the street. Yes? This is also there. The expression of the absolute is marching on the street. But you can ask yourself the question, do I need to take this body and go march on the streets of Paris or go march on the streets of Washington or wherever? Or can I be just as effective, if you want to use those words, as being, remaining aware that all of this is that?
I think there has been and continues perhaps, to be a guilt about not doing more and yet not wanting even to do more other than what I'm doing, which is, maybe there's a wish to have that guilt put aside, like, okay, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to do this.
So if you look right now,
yeah,
you have this guilt, right? You're speaking about it. So obviously you're touching it right this moment, right? So if I say to you, look directly at this guilt, but don't touch it. Don't pick it up. Just know that in this moment, in the mind, some feeling has risen, is rising, which you are labeling guilt. Yes? So you have seen it. There's not a denial. You're not pushing it away. You're saying, yes, I see this, guilt is here, I know this expression, it comes from time to time. But I'm telling you, I'm asking you, don't pick it up. What can you see about it when you don't pick it up?
Sadness. The sadness, you know, that this is the, yeah, there's still this ideal somewhere of what the world should look like. It should be democratic and people should be helping others, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And this being became a social worker based on that.
Yes. So you can also see that there is this whole constellation of thoughts that drive this feeling of guilt. Right? Very good. What if you just observe those? And by observe them, I mean don't do anything about them. Including and especially don't believe them. Just notice. Now there is this thought here. First there was guilt. Then there was sadness. Now there is this constellation of thoughts around why this sadness is here. The world should be somewhere different, somehow different. And as a consequence of this constellation, I became a social worker. So now we're talking directly about the very personal identification with the objects in awareness and consciousness. Yes? Yes. Don't touch any of it.
The whole social work thing burned me out so completely, so that was not the way either.
Yes, but it did not burn out all of this underlying guilt and sadness and so on. We can walk away from a job. We can walk away from a whole life. We can walk away from a person. We can walk away from our suffering in some way. And then we notice at some time later, as you're noticing right now, that you can walk away from the job, but you cannot walk away from the sense of guilt or the sense of sadness, the sense of suffering. You cannot walk away from it in the same way. Why? Because it's all happening internally. Right? From the job, you walk out the building, say, I quit, you go home. But you don't, you take the sadness with you. You take the sense of guilt with you. So this is happening inside. So first we have to turn away from this whole notion that I thought I got rid of it, and here it still is. We have to turn away from this notion. We have to look and see that, yes, there is this reoccurring thought, or this reoccurring momentum that is happening. And I'm calling that guilt, or I'm calling it sadness. But look deeper. What is before that? What is before that sense of guilt? Or, you might say, what is watching that? What knows this feeling of guilt and labels it as guilt? Can you tell me?
Yeah, I mean, basically, something, but nothing.
Say that again.
There's the I, there's the I, and there's the I is nothing, and so I'm very much still swimming in that.
Yes, but this does not have the smell of truth. So I want you to go deeper than that. I want you to really look deeper than that. See if you can see what has labeled the feelings that you're having as guilt or sadness. What is labeling those things? What is making that decision? Instead of saying this feeling is here and it is bliss, it is saying this feeling is here and it is guilt. What is doing that? You don't know. Yes. This is a house of cards. This is a building built of straw. The straw is the belief that the thoughts are real. Yes. The cards are flimsy, but somehow they are believed. So what happens if you just remain in this place before the decision that this feeling as it rises is guilt? What if you just remain there, observing the feeling, not even labeling it guilt? Does it remain for a long period of time, or does it tend to dissolve?
It dissolves.
Yes, of course. Yeah, but?
Oh, no. It's such a mix. I mean, you've addressed it, but it's such a mix of, I should be doing more, this shouldn't be happening, no. But the thing, what I'm getting from what you're saying is just to observe.
First of all, I want to honor the mind that is saying I should be doing more, but now I want you to acknowledge that doing more is not working as a social worker in the world. Doing more is returning here now, seeing the foundation of this guilt, this sadness, and saying this is of absolutely no benefit to the world, it's of absolutely no benefit to me, and so what I give the world is the recognition that the world, that this is that. That my very regard is for the healing of the world. That everything I do is for the healing of the world, even when I do nothing. My very consciousness is the foundation of the world and contains within it the possibility of the healing of the world. But this is not up to me. This is up to the Supreme. So I am here to say the Supreme is one, and to stop playing this game of separation. If you want to unify with something, don't unify with the suffering of the world. Unify with the saving of the world, with the love of the world, with the bliss of being. Unify with that.
Even while the world burns.
Yes. Apparently.
Okay.
You see, when everyone is rattling their sabers, there is only the sage to remain peaceful and calm and to remind one another. Krishna said to Arjuna, just do what you must do, but at the same time, know that you are not doing it, that it is the work of the divine. This is from the Bhagavad Gita. What is happening here is the work of the divine. Our task is to see everything as the work of the Supreme. If you do this, you give the world every possibility. Not just the possibility of burning, but the possibility of shining as well. So, choose.
On a very big level, it's about getting this entity or whatever, the permission to be that, to do that, to not do that.
Yes, well then you have
Just
permission.
To do that, and not attached to the hurt.
Yeah, but it's much more than just not attaching to the hurt. It's also, if you must have attachment to the Supreme, to that which is aware, awake, here now. You see, what you're seeing in the world, and what we're all seeing in moment-to-moment existence, whether it's body, mind, or world, is the separation I referred to earlier. This is the manifestation that you're talking about of separation. Our task is always to see one. Where everyone else sees separation. So breathing in oneness not breathing in separation. And if you have a very strong mind like this, I would strongly recommend to you that you really limit your time on Facebook. Because you have to ask yourself, what am I supporting? Am I supporting the recognition I am self? If you are fully the self, Facebook is not the problem. But if it keeps drawing you back into the sense of being separate, of there being trauma, of the world is burning, what is the usefulness of this? So first we strengthen our ability, if you will, an ability that we have to remain as that which is aware, that which is conscious, that which is loving, kind, compassionate. And when we're very firm that this is who I am, now the world, the life itself, will dictate to us what is our work in that regard. For now, you are here in Tiru. Let all this go. Realize the self, all will be well. All is well anyway, but realize the self. You can ask yourself, what is your motivation? What is your priority? And if your priority is to realize the self, to be free, to remain free, to recognize your already free awareness, then if you must cling to something, cling to that. It will bear fruit. Now or later.
I think one of the beauties that we have is are the teachers, are the sages, or the you, and you know that when one looks at the rage of the world, how can that be in its own way of course, but turning one's face towards the divine.
But one, understand very clearly though, that one is not recommending that you turn your face toward the divine as a way of turning away from the world. One is actually saying, turn your face toward the divine so that you can see in the world the divine. So that you can see your own nature, and by seeing your own nature, you will also see the nature of the world. Not about denial or getting away from anything. This is actually about stepping into it in a way that you absolutely have no understanding of at this moment. Okay, yeah. It's interesting, we were having a similar conversation the other day about something similar to this. Anyone else? Travel well, safely. Come back soon. You are always with me. When it's time to catch your plane, you just go catch your plane. It's because I'm sat on it and I'm pulling it down. Please don't trouble yourself, don't worry.
want to ask a practice-related question. You kind of already implied when you answered this lady's question when talking about how to deal with the sense of guilt. The question is, if we are already able to observe the emotion or thoughts come and go, is it still necessary to apply self-inquiry, like, to whom these thoughts or emotion arise? And for example, in the meditation, that when strong emotion comes up, so kind of a struggle whether should I stay with the emotion, just deal with it, or just when apply the self-inquiry to whom it arises.
Yes.
The problem is when you apply the self-inquiry, the emotion will just be gone.
The emotion will just be
gone. It will just disappear. So
maybe.
kind of, yeah, sometimes, yeah. So the question is, in this kind of situation, should we apply self-inquiry or should we stay with the emotion as it is?
Yes, yes. So it becomes necessary at some point to really look at when the emotion comes, is there a strong sense of I-ness or me-ness? This is my emotion. If there is any vestige of this kind of feeling, this is my emotion, then apply the inquiry. Who, right? Who is having this thought? I am having this thought. Who am I? What is aware of this? Because what we're undermining or chopping is the sense of identification with the emotion. At some point, you can see very clearly, you can even see this fairly early on. It depends on the strength of the emotion. If the emotion is very strong, there is a strong sense that this emotion is mine, or I don't like it, or I want to get rid of it. If it's a smaller emotion, a simpler emotion, there's no attachment to it. There's just a recognition, oh, this is an emotion. No, not so much interest, and it just falls away on its own. Okay? So the determining factor is always to know, is there a strong sense of me-ness or my-ness associated with this? If there is, apply this. But if the emotion is just arising in the field of awareness and there is no sense of me-ness about it, no one is having this emotion, it is simply here, then the inquiry is not necessary. The inquiry remains silent at that point.
That's good, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I want to say further, if you're doing inquiry or you're doing some form of meditation practice, don't engage the mind just in order to be doing something. So the mind will necessarily, the attention will necessarily engage something which is strong, and there is still a sense of identification with it. And this is when we do the inquiry. If there is just a simple rising in thought, mind, body, a sensation it can be, if there's just a simple arising but there's no real, attention is not really moving in that way, attention is still here, in the here now, then just remain here. Use the silent form of the inquiry, which is to keep attention here.
So can I understand if we are able to be in a position observer, like we are able to not moving, just observe, come and go? So it's not really necessary to apply the self-inquiry.
No, it's just all you do in that case is just observe. When you feel very firm in that position, in other words, you are able to see thoughts come, emotions come, sensations come, and they just last their own natural period of time, and then they go because there's no food being given to them, no attention being given to them. When you see this happening, now you can ask, and what is aware of this? Not of what is coming and going. What is aware of the witnessing characteristic? What is aware of the observer? What is behind the observer? What makes it possible to be an observer? Because if the observer is still there, or the witness is still there, this is much better than being the one who's identified with what's happening. But understand, this is only a more subtle form of I, or me. There is still a subject and an object, an observer and an observed, a witness and a witness, witnessing. So there is still this subtle form of I going on. So then it becomes possible. to penetrate more deeply with the question, and what is aware of this? Now, of course, in the beginning of that process, there will be this sensation or even this thought in the mind, and what is aware of this? Just because you have primed yourself for it. In other words, we've talked about it now, so it isn't now in your mind that when you hit this point you can look and you can say what is observing here, or what is aware of this, or what is witnessing. But at some point, that is also not necessary. There is just a natural turning away from even the witness, and the silence is just here. So, the inquiry is for when there's any form of the I apparent, either a strong attachment to something which has risen in body, mind, and world, or a very subtle recognition that I still feel this sense of separation from whatever the object is, even if the object is the witness or the observer. There's a subtle sense of separation there, separateness. So then you turn directly away from that as well. Yes. And at this point, this process is going to have its own momentum. It's going to sweep you away. You don't need to be doing anything, talking about it. No thoughts are coming to the mind. There's just this continual here-ness, now-ness, which is aware of everything which is rising in body, mind, and world. Yes, you are seeing this now. Yes. Good. I have a great sense of gratitude for those of you that are able and willing to engage here in satsang for the benefit of everyone who's here, that you ask the questions that you ask, and that we are able to have this conversation. I'm very, very grateful. It takes some courage, doesn't it? Some of you know. To step forward and to reveal to a whole room full of people what the inquiry means for you and provokes in you. What kind of fire has been lit. So I'm very grateful. Thank you for your sharing. Those of you who have shared before here. Sometimes there's a funny thing that happens. It doesn't occur to you that you have a question until we actually walk out. And then you stop me on the street and you say, oh, this just occurred to me. And I say, oh, I wish you had said that on the video, because that would have been useful to everyone in the room and also to other people who are watching. It's kind of a funny thing that happens. I think that satsang is over, and then I realize that satsang is somehow never over. And I'm very grateful for that as well. That all of this is satsang. You're well. So tell me now today, did you take the pressure off some? And how is it?
Huge amount of pressure is down. Try to be quiet, just relax.
And then some quiet is coming, right? You take this pressure off.
Yes.
Very good. Very happy. Good. Sometimes, for some of us, there's a strong intensity around, I must wake up, I must do my sadhana, I must. And of course, this is a wonderful motivation, and it is the foundation of everything that we do. But as soon as we understand, through this process, that the motivation is not even mine, the motivation is coming from the Supreme. The motivation is coming from somewhere. We are just blessed with this motivation. Now we can put everything in the hands of the Supreme. We don't need to be stressful and pressure ourselves at every moment of every day. This actually becomes a barrier for us. This is when sadhana becomes a barrier. And so we are always looking for this point of balance, where sadhana is supportive and nurturing, and yet the determination of the Supreme for our awakening is felt very strongly. Now there's a sense of balance about what we're doing. Even we are peaceful and calm, we always know that there is only one goal here, if there is a goal, and that is to realize I am already free. And because I say this to you, you are already free. Sometimes I have to say to you, as I said to him the other day, okay, now relax. In order to let this innate freedom, which all of us have, which all of you are possessed, to begin to shine. Because this effort of the mind is like putting a curtain in front of the shining, which is always here and always happening. So always we are looking for this sense of balance between effort and non-effort. Between inquiry and being. This is really the balance that we're talking about the other day. It's this balance between the need to do inquiry in a very intense and concentrated way, and the need to just relax into the freedom which is already here. And to know over time. We become very good at understanding when the pressure is too much or when there's too much relaxation. I don't know how I can say too much relaxation because I don't experience this myself. There's never too much relaxation. But it can feel this way sometimes. This is a big fear for some of you, eh? People talk about this all the time. They are so afraid that if they give up the pressure, that they will just end up lounging along on the couch all day, not doing anything. I will just end up sleeping. You know, I used to do a lot of big, long-term, retreats. I used to teach in the Buddhist world. And there's this very firm structure for 3-day retreats and 10-day retreats and 2-week retreats and 30-day retreats. And one of the things that would always happen was people would really struggle for the first 3 or 4 days. And because they were trying so intensely to do their sadhana, to do their practice, and they couldn't wake up. They would just be asleep. Well, you're coming out of this busy world, right, where everything is like swirling around, and you're trying to bring that intensity. And you're trying to bring that intensity to the very first day of your sadhana. And all the body wants to do is sleep because you finally have given it a break. You're just here breathing, which is the primary practice in Vipassana. You're just here breathing, and the body says, oh, you finally have relaxed the mind, and it just, off it goes. And it can do this for 3 or 4 days. We used to, as teachers, we used to call this the swamp. So if you've just arrived, anticipate that if you're just coming out of a busy life, that, you may have a couple of days or 3 days or 4 days where you really don't feel like anything but resting and relaxing, and the mind will be saying, but you're here, you need to do your sadhana. But yeah, you also need to eat well, get some extra sleep, go for a walk, go to the samadhi, lean against the wall. If you are needing to pick up the kind of intensity that you are craving in some way, that's coming from inside you, that you need some days of intensive practice, this will come. You have to trust this process. The process of both being in the inquiry and also being human. And recognizing that you're looking for the key that unlocks the unity of both of those perceptions. Okay. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvagamiva Vandhanam Mrityo Mukshiyamamritawa Swaha Bhuva Bhu Om Sat Junham Om. Namaskar. Go in peace. Namaskar. Enjoy full moon tonight. Bhagavan Jayanti tomorrow. Come to the ashram, have a good meal. Everyone is welcome there on this very special day. Take advantage of it.